This is James Lupton for Pro Boxing Fans. I'm delighted to be joined today on Zoom with Caleb Plant. Caleb, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No worries, well, thank you for joining us. Let's start off. We'll go back, first of all, to your fight about 4 weeks ago, Caleb Truex. Just reflecting on that win. I think you was injured during the fight as well. How's that injury holding up, and how do you see the fight now looking back as well?
It is good. I went to get X-rays and nothing was broken. So a little bit of ligament damage, but not enough to get surgery. So basically, just letting it rest. And at this point, I wasn't able to get the stoppage. But other than that, with a hurt hand, sometimes those things happen. And other than that, I feel like I did everything I was supposed to. I shut him out on all 3 judges' scorecards for all 12 rounds. He only landed 12% of his punches on me. I had a dominant performance. My viewership was great, so it was like the highest it's been since like 2019 or something like that. So I feel like I'm in a great spot, and I'm doing good. So now it's on to bigger and better.
Of course, you are the RBF super middleweight world champion. It's a title that, of course, Canelo is looking for. He's looking to become undisputed and unified division. Your name is well and truly in that mix. Let's first of all look back at the weekend just gone. Canelo Yildirim, what did you make of that performance? Pretty much as expected.
I felt like Canelo was going to dominate and probably stop him, but I just didn't know that it would be that easy and that soon. Canelo, he did what he was supposed to do, and he went in there and implemented his game plan. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a part of history, if you want to be in the history books forever, and you can't quit on your stool in the 3rd round. You can't not come out for the 4th round. And you can't just stand in front of them and shell up like a heavy bag either. And again, I feel like that this was just another case of somebody getting in there and getting in front of them and giving them too much respect and shelling up and freezing up and just letting him do whatever he wants. And, again, if you want to be in the history books forever, you can't just get in front of somebody and let them do whatever they want. So, hats off to Canelo, but at the end of the day, I feel like Yildirim, he didn't, he went out soft, I feel like, so.
What did you make of the fact that he was made mandatory by WBC because he'd not had a win for a few years? His biggest high-profile fight really was Chris Eubank Jr., who also stopped him in the 3rd round. Yeah. What did you make of the fact he was in that position?
I don't know. People have given me flack for having to fight my mandatories. And, at the end of the day, if you don't fight your mandatory, then you're stripped of your belt, something that fighters work their whole life for. So, you don't want that. But how he was his mandatory, I'm not sure, because he's been out of the ring for 2 years. His last fight was he lost. And so how he was still his mandatory, I'm not sure how that came about. You would think it would be somebody else. But, that's not for me to figure out. So, again, I just feel like he just went in there and shut up and just gave him way too much respect and just froze up, and you can't do that. You can't do that.
You mentioned yourself that you've received some flack and some criticism for defending against your mandatories. Canelo, the positive was that although it was Yildirim, he did get his mandatory out of the way, done and dusted, move on to bigger fights. Yourself, how do you take that as a fighter and as a champion? How do you take that criticism?
I mean, it comes with the game. I've been in boxing long enough. I've studied boxing long enough and watched boxing long enough to know that, no matter what you do, or what you accomplish, you can't make everybody happy. So I just, take it as it comes, take it with a grain of salt and know that, if they're not hating on me, then they're hating on somebody else. So, that's just how it's going to be. You can't make all the fans happy. So I'm happy with my decision with my back-to-back mandatory. It leaves me a year free and worth, open and clear to make unification fights and big fights happen, which is what the fans want anyways. So first I had to get that back-to-back mandatory out of the way. And now, moving on down the road, I won't have a mandatory in the way of, that Canelo fight. And, they want him to be undisputed or they want me to be undisputed. Well, there was only one way for that to happen this year, and that's for, me to get that mandatory out of the way. So now it's on to bigger and better things.
Before I come on to yourself and Canelo's potential fight, obviously it was announced after this weekend. It's Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders first of all. Obviously another title on the line there with WBO. What do you make of that fight and how do you rate Billy Joe's chances?
I mean, if he doesn't get in there and, you know, give him too much respect and shell up and freeze up, kind of like I feel like Yildirim did and somewhat what Callum did as well, then, you know, he's got a good chance. You know, he's got some attributes. I feel like he's got a little bit more mental fortitude than maybe these last two guys, a little bit grittier. And, but at the end of the day, you know, when that bell rings, we're going to get to find out for sure. That's what I love about boxing is this person or that person can say what they want, but when the bell rings, we're going to find out the truth. So,
When you say his opponents have given him a lot of respect, Canelos is, what do you feel is the best way to approach him? Is it to trade with him? Is it to get into the pocket, work inside, or is the plan, good game plan to dance around him and pick him off and pick the points up? Because Canelos seems so well rounded these days.
yeah. I mean, you know, all fighters, you know, they have different styles, they have different attributes. And so, you know, the way that one person may beat him, you know, feel like that they can beat him may not be how another person feels like they can beat him. But, you know, I can't speak for everyone else. But at the end of the day, I feel like that I have all the skills and all the tools. I feel like I have the mental fortitude, the toughness, the dog in me to go in there and do what I got to do to get my hand raised. And come September, I feel like I don't feel like I am going to get in there. I'm going to get my hand raised. I'm going to become the first undisputed super middleweight of all time. If Canelo, which is why I said if Canelo can get past, you know, Billy Joe Saunders and, you know, handle his business.
So is that the plan for yourself? Will you be out again before September, or are you now looking at September as your next fight date with hopefully Canelo?
No, you know, I feel like just going right into September is the best move. So, you know, let my hand rest a little bit more and letting it get fully healed. That way, come September, you know, there's no bumps or bruises. We can get in there and get the fans what they want.
Have there been any sort of talks at all between yourself and Team Canelo for potentially fighting this year? Obviously, like I say, it depends on if he overcomes Billy Joe Saunders. But have there been any negotiations or any early talks so far?
I mean, he stated to everybody that he wants to become undisputed, that he wants to fight me, and I've been vocal about it as well that I want to fight him and that I'm looking to become undisputed. And so, other than that, you know, we'll figure it out here soon. So, but just as a heads up, anybody who thinks that I'm just going to get in there and just lay down in front of him, you know, they don't know me very well. So I'm looking forward to September, and I'm looking forward to becoming the first undisputed super middleweight of all time.
In terms of Billy Joe, if Billy Joe does beat Canelo, is that a fight for yourself to come September, October time? Could you face Saunders instead?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I want. I want to become undisputed.
So is that the ultimate game plan for yourself? Is that obviously you're world champion already? Everyone's aim is to be world champion. The next step is undisputed. Is that your next goal?
Yeah, you know, everybody's got different goals and ambitions, but you know, I've been doing this sport for a long time, and since a kid, you know, I wanted to become undisputed, and I wanted to submit my name in the history books forever and leave my footprint in the sport in a way that nobody can erase. And that's, you know, I feel like undisputed and being the first undisputed super middleweight is a great way of doing that. So I'm chasing the belts. I want glory. I want legacy, and so that's my goal.
So you've mentioned there you would be the first undisputed super middleweight world champion.
Yeah.
Why do you think there hasn't been one so far? Why do you think there is so few undisputed champions throughout the, history of boxing? Really, is it the, issue with cross promotions? Is it that people ultimately don't want to fight for all the belts or fight the better fighters as such?
I'm sure it has to do with both. You know, I can't speak for everybody else, so I don't know where their, you know, what their motivations are, what they want out of the sport. But it's probably a little bit of everything. You know, cross promotion. Sometimes it's, you know, people feel like just because two fighters don't fight that it's the fighters are scared of each other and don't want to fight, and that's more times than not the case. So and then, but there are fighters who don't want to step up and don't want to take that chance of losing. You know, that at the same time, you know, it's not easy to become undisputed. It's hard enough to win one world title. Imagine how many, you know, how few boxers have been world champion out of all the fighters who have laced up a pair of gloves. Now to add 3 more world titles on top of that and to hold them all simultaneously, you know, at the same time, you know, that's no easy task. And but I want to prove, you know, that I'm worthy of that, and I will prove that I'm worthy of that.
Do you think there could be any issues with the cross promotions with yourself in this fights with Canelo or Saunders?
I mean, you know, I don't know about You know, I'm not sure, but if we're looking to become undisputed, then you know we're gonna have to link up and we're gonna have to work together. So, you know, it'll happen.
And just finally from me, Caleb, obviously we mentioned ultimate goal is unifications, undisputed. What
Mm.
then? What will be next for yourself? Come September, you're undisputed. You've got all the belts. Is there room for moving divisions? What is next for yourself?
I'll go to Disneyland. That's it. As far I'm not looking past September, so you know, get in there, become undisputed, and make history. And you know, people, you know, I know you're not doing this, but people are so quick to ask what's next after a fighter. You know, as soon as a fighter wins a fight, you know, it's hard to think that far down the road, and you know, that's such a big task that you know, there's no reason to look past that right now.
Absolutely. Perfect. Caleb, I appreciate you joining me today. Thank you for speaking to us on Pro Boxing Fans, and all the best for the rest of the year.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.